Frankly, I don't think I would be getting this criticism if Ms. Guyger were a black woman.
Guyger is spending her first night in her new prison unit. This is her new mugshot from the Gatesville prison.
And tonight we're hearing from the trial judge who surprised us all with this moment in court. You know, Judge Tammy Kemp, she took a lot of heat for that hug.
Yeah.
She said that one of the reasons she decided to run for judge, in part, not the whole reason, but was the Trayvon Martin case out of Florida, that she felt that she had been told by her pastor that if you were in a position to do more, you should do more. And that was kind of a calling that she felt that she could, that would inspire her to run, to be a judge. So it's fascinating that when she gets here, you know, one of the cases that she'll long be known for is presiding over this case where, you know, it has all of those kind of elements to what originally, you know, made her want to become a judge in the first place. Mm.
Frankly, I don't think I would be getting this criticism if Ms. Guyger were a black woman. I really don't. And I hate that we want to limit our compassion to one race or so. We've had a long line of miscarriages of justice where other innocent black men have been wrongfully killed, and the outcomes haven't been what reasonable people thought that they might have been. But I'm not privy to the rules or regulations of every other state, so I don't know what happened in those trials. But the outcomes have not been what the general public might have thought that they might have been. And so many times we want to line up things along racial lines. I'm very happy that the jury we ended up with was a diverse jury. So no one can really make that argument that they were a polarized group. And Ms. Guyger, I was very cognizant to try to give Ms. Guyger and the state a fair trial. Ms. Guyger cannot bear the sins of all of these other trials where the verdict didn't come out what the general public might have hoped it would have. And I think that's a part of it. But then there's some people that are never going to be satisfied.
You know, and there she's kind of speaking to that whole idea that was really been debated so much over the course of the last week, is that you've heard from a lot of, especially in the African-American community, where they say, you know, why is it always black people in these situations that have to be the ones to forgive a white person who has, you know, committed such a horrific act? And we asked the judge about that, and she said because quite often, more often than not, it is black people who are suffering or the victims of these horrific acts.
When you look back now, with it so fresh in your mind, over all of it, can you put it into words?
I don't know that I can. From the outset, several of my fellow judges and I, when this case was indicted, we were all like, oh my God, I hope I don't get that case. And then I was the fortunate one. So I just tried to focus on, this is a murder trial. Let's do what we always do in a murder trial. Make certain we're fair to both sides, and everything will work out fine.
This is possible, but can I give her a hug, please?
As a judge, when you see the brother of a victim hug the person responsible, what does that do?
That reminds me that we're all human. That at this moment in time, Brandt Jean, the youngest person involved in this trial, was an example to all of us of what we should be. He took his brother's life, incorporated that into his thoughts, his upbringing, his belief, and wanted for Ms. Guyger what he believed his brother would want for her. And I think his request to hug her, which would have been the personification of his forgiveness, I think it caught all of us off guard.
That embrace, certainly one moment. Another moment would have come with a second embrace.
At the end of almost every one of my trials, and certainly those where someone has died, I always go to the victim's family and express my condolences to them. And it's not uncommon for me to talk to defendants either. I just said to her, Ms. Guyger, Mr. Jean has forgiven you. Please forgive yourself so that you can live a purposeful life. And she said, do you think my life can still have purpose? And I said, I know it can. Absolutely, it can. She said to me, well, I don't even have a Bible. And she said, do you think God will forgive me? I said, yes, he will. He will. And she said, I don't have a Bible. I don't own a Bible, and I don't know where to begin. And I just said, well, hold on, I'm going to get you a Bible.
You give her that Bible, and then she asks you for something else.
Mm-hmm. She said, can I hug you? I'm ashamed to say I paused because I was looking at her, and then I just saw somebody that was really, really hurting. And then my memory said, your job is to do justice, to love mercy, and walk humbly. So how can you not hug this lady? And she asked me a second time, and I said yes. And I should have said yes the first time.
To those who say you overstepped as a judge, what do you say?
Well, it's sad that they have that opinion, particularly today, when all we hear about is we need to reform the criminal justice system. We need to treat the criminals as persons. We need to bring more compassion in sentencing. But Ms. Guyger seems to be somebody who's searching for a purpose. And I think if we meet her with love and compassion, we might help her find that. And then Botham Jean's death would not have been in vain.
Yeah, she told our Rebecca Lopez why she felt it was important.
Can I give her a hug, please?
It's the moment that for a few seconds seemed to bring the world together, an embrace. Botham Jean's brother Brandt had asked Judge Tammy Kemp if he could hug Amber Guyger, his brother's killer.
And I was wanting to say no, but I couldn't. And then when he said the second please, I just felt like I could not deny him this. I thought it would be cathartic for him. I hoped it would be helpful for Ms. Guyger.
Then Judge Kemp stepped off the bench to console Botham Jean's family.
And I told them that I was happy to have learned about their son because he seemed to be an amazing individual.
She says she looked around the courtroom and saw black and brown on one side and white on the other. So she turned to Guyger, not wanting her to feel neglected.
And I just simply said to her, Brandt Jean has forgiven you. Please forgive yourself.
She says Guyger asked her if she thought her life could still have purpose.
And she asked me, did I think God would forgive her? And I said, yes, he will. And she said, well, I don't have a Bible, I don't own a Bible, and I don't know where to start. And that's when I said to her, I will get you a Bible.
So she went to her chambers, got her Bible, and gave it to Guyger. She told her to turn to John 3:16, and they read the Bible together. She says Guyger asked her for a hug, not once, but twice.
When I looked at her and saw how she was hurting, of course I agreed to give her a hug. And so we did.
Judge Kemp repeatedly wiped away tears as she recounted those moments. She says she's confused that some people would criticize her for having this human moment.
And I did feel led to give her a Bible because I did not want her to go back over to the jail and to become bitter and to not allow the seed that was planted not to be nurtured and brought to fruition.
She says despite the fact that some people thought she overstepped her role as a judge, she says she would do the same thing again. In Dallas, I'm Rebecca Lopez.
It was the hug that took everyone by surprise. The judge who presided over the murder trial of former Dallas cop Amber Guyger hugging her moments after she was sentenced to 10 years behind bars. The judge also gave Guyger her own personal Bible. Now Judge Tammy Kemp is speaking out and has no regrets.
I was honored to give her my Bible and gladly gave her a hug.
The embrace was praised by many as a healing moment.
It's a beautiful human moment that we need to see a lot more of in this country.
But others on social media thought the judge's actions were uncalled for, even outrageous. Comedian and political commentator D.L. Hughley tweeted, "When's the last time you've ever seen a judge come off the bench and hug a convicted murderer? This is too much." Judge Kemp told Dallas station WFAA that she was moved when the brother of slain Botham Jean asked her permission to hug the ex-cop.
I don't know if this is possible, but can I give her a hug, please? Please?
When he said the second please, I just felt like I could not deny him this.
Judge Kemp reveals it was Guyger who then asked her for a hug.
She asked me, did I think God would forgive her? And I said, yes, he will.
And Dallas police announced today they have made an arrest in the murder of Joshua Brown, a key witness at the trial. Police say Brown was killed during a drug deal gone wrong.
As you know, there's been speculation and rumors that have been shared by community leaders claiming that Mr. Brown's death was related to the Amber Guyger trial and somehow the Dallas Police Department was responsible. I assure you that is simply not true.
Well, I'm sure for you all who were watching it online, you just generally saw the back of Miss Guyger. And from time to time, a side glance. But at the start of trial on September 23rd, she was very stoic. She seemed to have found a point in space to fixate on, and she just seemed to stare straight ahead at that. And she sat very still. And after the verdict of guilt, she was visibly shaken, and I think it took her quite some time to regain her composure. But after that verdict, she was a different person. She was a broken person. I saw a remarkable young man who came to the stand, and I did not expect, I don't know what I thought he was going to say, but I did not imagine that that was his forgiveness, his outreach to her, his telling her that he only wanted the best for her. I did not expect that. There was a lot of crying. I have not had one where defense counsel and prosecutors are crying, as well as the defendant's family and the victim's family. And yes, I was crying. It's not unusual for me to cry. I cry almost all the time. And I think it was cathartic for everybody because the attorneys fought hard. It was a horrific circumstance. And I think Brandt Jean gave us an example that the person is more than just the act, the horrific act that they've committed. That's the first time I had someone who was going into custody to serve a prison sentence ask me for a hug. I'm very cognizant of the sheriff's policies concerning contact with an accused, and I was thinking about that, but I was also thinking about this woman is really, really hurting. And Brandt Jean has given her a measure of hope. And for whatever reason, she's asking me for the same compassion. And who am I to deny her?